Hello class, this is weekly update 10. Let's talk about your activities, calculations, and challenges this week. So good bit of work to share. So we'll go to our usual spot in Hope's class. Okay, so we are in module 5, samples and lots of folks in here. Calvin, Maximus, twice, Grace, maybe. Then on the folks that just a nice job step by step adding visuals, this weekly update 10 class, you had activities, calculations, and challenges too. So share the screen and go to those. So we're in our usual place, module 5, samples and examples, week 2. So lots of folks in here: Calvin, Maximus, Noah, James, Madeline, Gavin, Haley, Grace, and Aaron. On the activities, this folks that did the scavenger hunt, that was really neat to see. That was Sharika. Lauren seemed to be in Germany, and Maximus. So they were able to talk about where they saw concepts from book 3.5, their everyday life. And then some folks that do really nice step-by-step work with visuals. So take a look at Noah's, James, Madeline. If you want to understand the thought process for how someone chose to do what they did with matching Madeline and Haley, really nice explanation there. And did the birthday lines and maybe had any pictures. So really nice job there, as did Madeline. And then for the half space match, I liked what I think it was Madeline and Gavin. Gavin did a really nice job drawing partial 3D objects, so then that would help you narrow it down. So like we knew some of the back walls were here and there'd be a slant. So take a look at this work. And for the calculations, I noticed there were several people this week that didn't turn in any calculations. And so as usual, just a reminder about the late policy. We hate having zeros. Chloe and I would love to replace a zero with partial credit for any of these assignments. So please submit something late. Late's better than never. You're going to get some credit, but also you're going to understand the material. And it's like studying for the final, right? So anytime you're doing these homework, it's how we study for the final. But when you do turn in late work, please email Chloe so she knows to be heads up looking out for it, so she can replace those zeros with partial credit. Calculations, I'll just point to the usuals. Calvin does all problems, has nice explanations. Noah's step by step. James and Madeline, Haley and Grace. I liked Aaron's. I put hers in this time for her calculations. She meant lots of CalPlot 3D visuals to go with why she did what she did with her calculations and just to check her work. And then there were a couple of questions. Maximus in particular noted some questions that I'd asked in these calculations that weren't directly on your videos. And that's true. They were asking you to extend something or put you in a new situation, something you hadn't seen before. It was nice to see in Maximus' work that he was able to work that out, like the one about where does this line intersect the one of the coordinate planes. So just what does it mean to be on a coordinate plane, and then went from there. So nice job, Maximus. And then Madeline had a question about can you parameterize a plane that extends infinitely? And yes, you can. You just want to take those parameters, S and T or U and V, whatever you're choosing, and extend those infinitely in certain directions. So you can say T goes from negative infinity to infinity. Okay, so go ahead and take a look at it again. If you've got folks that you like, and again, I'm going to recommend Noah's and James were really clear. And then let's take a look at the challenges. So challenges, every group did problem number 1, where the planes were intersecting except for 2 groups. And that was groups 5, Isabella and Calvin, and group 6, David and Noah, did the parallelogram. And group 5, that's Isabella and Calvin, did the level 2 upgrade, so it was nice to see. And we'll look at David and Noah's because they had some nice pictures. So if you didn't do the parallelogram challenge problem, we can look at group 6. So they had some really nice pictures. You had these 3 points, and then there was where else should you go look for this hidden treasure? And these folks believed in parallelogram, so they just extended that. And this was an excellent picture to show the 3 points, and then they show the calculations associated with those. There's the 3 different ones, and should you go look at these other points? Okay, and then every other group did the one where the planes are intersecting. So I want to point out a couple groups here. So I liked group 3. This was the nth dimension, Grant, Madeline, and Maximus. They used some linear algebra to solve this, as did group 4. Math pictures here showing that the lines are, that those lines are skew. And the other point on group 4 was they found the distance between these lines. Yeah, here's their distance equation, and a distance of 870 feet. They found the 2 points that they thought were closest, and many groups did this visually, which was totally fine in the tech tool. Just kind of keep moving until those points look closest, and then using a distance formula to estimate that. But I want to show you group 8 also did the same problem, similar approach, but here's where they took the 2 parameterizations of the lines, this one here and this one here, and they got the distance between those in terms of t. So that's this formula down here. This is the group of Haley, Kendra, and Wade. Yeah. And so they got this distance formula where they replaced t with x so they could put it into Wolfram. And so this was the distance between those 2 parameterizations in terms of the 1 parameter t or x. And then they minimized that. So really interesting approach. And then also just my favorite, I usually have a favorite quote every week. This would be group 9, the group of Trip, Jake, and Chris. They chose to do problem number 1 because Chris was wearing a NASA jacket that day. But my quote was, the prosecution's lawyer only took up to Calc 2, so he doesn't understand. He only understands 2D space and doesn't understand 3D space. And then you got to that point, right? Lines in 3D have this third option, they can be skewed. In general, excellent job on the challenge problems this week. And now we're moving into chapter 2. It's a bit of a long chapter, so just preparing you that you'll have it's going to take longer this week. So plan ahead for these next 2 weeks for the module 2. It's a longer chapter. It's kind of dense on content, but there's a lot of very, very interesting content. Okay, well, have fun this week.